My name is Jonathan Brush. I'm the president and CEO of Unbound, and I want to tell you some stories. Let me start with this one. A couple of years ago, two young men wanted to go on a big adventure. They wanted to go backpacking through some of the national parks, particularly the ones out west. So they left Virginia, they traveled up to Michigan, across the Dakotas, into Washington State, down through California, and back through Colorado. And they did have a bit of an adventure of a lifetime, backpacking in lots of different places on backcountry permits. They also never had to stay in a hotel room, as they stayed with Unbound friends and Unbound families the whole way around the country. But like most great stories, the interesting part of this one is when things went wrong. And things went wrong as they came out of Yellowstone and their vehicle broke down. So they called me and I said, I think we have an alum who lives in Montana, which is where they were currently broke down. And so I called this alum and I connected them to these two students. Now, they had never met each other. They had been in the program at different times. And so the alum said, "Hey, where are you?" And they said, "We're about 3.5 hours from where you live." And he says, "Oh, in Montana terms, that's like practically being next door." He said, "Here's what we're going to do. My brother owns a tow truck company and I'll send him out to pick you up. We'll tow the car back here and you can stay with us for as long as it takes to get it fixed. But before we do that, my cousin works on your kind of vehicle. He's currently at his kid's birthday party, but let me call him and see if he can talk to you. Maybe we can fix this thing over the phone." So he called his cousin. The cousin called the two guys. They were able to get it fixed over the phone and they were able to complete their entire trip. And that's a pretty good idea of the kind of network and national advantage you get when you become part of Unbound. But let me tell you some other stories. Just recently, somebody called me. He's the head of an organization, and he said, "Hey, we're growing rapidly, and I need some help." I said, "What kind of help do you need?" He said, "I need somebody who can do finances and accounting and pay our bills and do all that kind of financial work. And I need somebody who can sort of serve as the director of operations, who handles a lot of our logistics and keeps things organized, do those kinds of things." I said, "Okay, well, I have two people in mind. Do you want me to set up an interview?" He said, "Well, I only need to interview them if you think they need convinced to come work for me." I said, "Well, don't you want to find out if they're a good fit for you?" He said, "No, I don't need to do that." He said, "They're Unbound students. So I know they'll be a great culture fit. I know they'll work harder than anybody else that I employ. And I know that they'll have all the skills that they need to be absolutely spectacular at what they do." That's the way Unbound students always work for us. And let me tell you a third story. A year or so ago, I had two alumni who graduated from our program, and they were serving in Ethiopia as mission and doing some missionary service work. And in this case, they were running an orphanage. And this orphanage had a lot of small children, infants, and they had to use cloth diapers. And these cloth diapers are being hung outside to dry. And during the raining season, a particular bug would come and land on these diapers and lay an egg. And then those diapers would be put on the infants, and then the parasite would get inside these infants. And so they said, "Hey, this is really not acceptable. We know how the parasite is getting into these babies. Can we do something different?" And they said, "No, that's not really possible. We'd need a dryer. And because of the place where we are and the remoteness of this location, we'd have to have all this special equipment and all these kinds of things to run the dryer." And they said, "Well, it's not acceptable for us to know what the problem is and not be able to at least take a shot at this solution." So that night they posted to Instagram to the Unbound community, and they said, "Hey, here's the situation. Here's what's going on." And within 48 hours, they'd raised more money that they needed, multiple thousands of dollars, to be able to purchase the dryer, all the equipment that was necessary, install that, and make sure that the infants in that orphanage no longer had to deal with this parasite during the rainy season. Those stories do a better job of explaining to you what Unbound is than almost anything else that I can tell you. I can tell you that technically, Unbound is a project-based higher education program. And that means that we can help you get a fully accredited degree, but we're going to do it in a different way. We're going to do it in a way that emphasizes learning real skills and doing real things, not case studies and not hypothetical stuff, but actually getting in and doing the work and learning in that fashion. And we'll help you do that, and we'll allow you to remain embedded in your local community, which is a fancy way of saying that we'll deliver most of our academics through some online methods. But we're also going to require you to get on a plane and to travel multiple times a year, where you're going to connect with all the other students of the Unbound program at live events around the country, because we think that real education doesn't really happen until you're face-to-face with somebody. And in the process, what's going to happen is, yes, you can earn a degree if you want to do that. You'll earn powerful certifications. You will do it for less money than you can do it probably anywhere else. And you will do it with a guarantee that says that when you graduate, you'll be able to be employed and get a job at the level of your degree, or we'll refund all of your tuition. So we'll offer this to you in a fairly risk-free way since you're doing something different. But that's not actually the most important thing that you'll get out of the program. What you're going to get out of the program is you're going to get a network of people all across the country a national network of folks who think differently because we are different. This is a different way to do education. This is a different way to think about education. If you want results that are different from what you see anywhere else, you have to do things in a different manner. And Unbound is going to call you into a different way of being prepared, a different way of training and getting ready for life, a different way to prepare that we think will ultimately help you to become much more successful. Now, if you're listening to this, I just know from experience that the majority of folks will say, yeah, that's probably not for me. But something like 1 or 2 out of 10 people hear this will say, now that I've heard that, I can't do anything else. You're the people that we're looking for. You're the people that we want to join Unbound. And so go to beunbound.us to learn more, to get in touch with us so that we can have a conversation, and we'll look forward to meeting you soon.